This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
You talked last week on the Deborah episode about your first conversation with Vince after you left. When did that take place?
First conversation with Vince after I left?
Yeah.
So that conversation, I'm not sure. I did not speak with him. Now, I spoke with him when I launched TNA. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But I talked to him, I want to say the Friday before the China match. And then obviously I talked to him off and on all day on that Sunday. But I didn't talk to him post leaving. I don't think until I launched TNA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you arrive to the Elephant Doors here and walk into the First Union Center. You see Vince Russo, Ed Ferrara, and Bill Banks. This has got to feel like a reunion, right? These guys were just with the WWF with you, and now all of you guys have changed jerseys.
I can remember getting to the arena. The production meeting was going on, and I was curious, like, okay, what, now I'm arriving, I'm here, what is going on? I think Bill Banks maybe was one of the first out of those three. I think Vince and Ed were in production, but I can remember seeing production people, the Keith Mitchells of the world, the promoters, the staff, and I'm sure the talent, at Nitro in these days, they brought so many pieces of talent, some on the show, some not on the show. But I remember
Flair used to joke that they flew in everyone on the roster. And then you would get there and they would say, "Oh, you're not on the show tonight." And some of the guys would fly home the same day.
Lots of guys would fly home the same day, which I used to think, okay, you're getting paid. What is so pressing at home that you don't even want to do the hang around? I always thought that was odd, but hey, David wasn't the only guys. And I get it, frustration, to each his own. But I'm thinking, if you made the effort, I'm sure you packed an overnight bag. Unless you had someone at home sick or an emergency you need to get to, why not hang around just in case, if you've got a passion for this business too? But again, it goes to culture, Conrad. I really, when I was reading this notes, I kept getting prepared for today's show. That word kept coming to mind, culture. What a unique, distinct, drastic, different culture I walked into that it had changed from 96. That unless you're there and can smell it, taste it, touch it, and feel it, it's hard to describe. But I found out real quick. I literally found out really, really quick that the culture was not 96 culture, and it certainly wasn't WWF culture.
So the buzz was out that weekend before you even lose to China that you're leaving the WWF and debuting for WCW. And obviously it's what everybody's talking about on Sunday and Monday online. And this is the infancy of the internet, if you will, here at 99. Does Vince want to capitalize on that? Vince meaning Russo, like when you walk in and you see the production meetings going on and all that jazz, do you remember there being discussion of, hey, you're hot right now, we got to leverage this, we got to keep it going, or what have you?
And see, this is something that, man, I could really go on a rabbit hole here because, and we've talked off camera, on camera, in episodes that, in 1999, you just have to imagine a world without Twitter, without Instagram, without, so when you said there was buzz going on, the word buzz today versus the internet buzz today, as opposed to 99, it's just radically different.
Yes.
And yes, for some folks, but if you want to go back a generation from that, so this is 99, let's go back to 89 when Lawler's in Mid-South Coliseum and he opened up his bag and he pulls out a Wrestling Observer or a Pro Wrestling Torch, one of those newsletters, obviously not even the digital format, and reading results and opinions and some nonfiction and some fiction. And, but, reading that stuff. So the word buzz, I didn't equate that to the mass audience at ever. So although there were some folks in Cleveland that were aware of the situation, and certainly some folks online, the overwhelming mass majority of the ticket buying consumer TV watcher was not really aware. Yes, there was a 1% of a 1%, or I don't want to get into those numbers, but I just didn't really think that when I say, how are we going to capitalize? Let's capitalize off the hot heel that just came off of Raw and SmackDown, not any internet buzz. Make sense?
Yeah. No, let me ask this,
Yeah.
I understand you're off of being this hot heel and you're fresh off TV and all that jazz. As silly as this sounds, once upon a time when Ole Anderson was helping run things for WCW and Ric Flair had just given notice and finished up with Vince McMahon, he left town in a pretty royal fashion. He lost to Mr. Perfect in the Manhattan Center in a loser leaves town match from one of the early episodes of Monday Night Raw. And when he shows up for work, Ole doesn't really want to honor the existing contract that Flair had, in theory, negotiated because, quote, you just lost on TV. What are you worth to me now? You're fresh off of losing the second biggest title in the hottest promotion, the Intercontinental title, to a woman. This is uncharted territory. So you may have been a hot heel, but now, and let's just put context in this. The most recent time we saw a woman beat a man in WCW, it was when Jacqueline beat Disco.
Yeah.
And so you're at the, and we both think a lot of the real life Glenn, but I'm saying you're this hot heel on TV and you're coming in and we're going to make you a top guy, but we just saw you lose to a woman. Do you remember there being any naysayers, or was China the exception to all women?
I kind of think when you draw the entire big picture, had I not had my run with Razor Ramon and the Road Dogg and the Shawn Michaels in your house match and the Diesel matches and, that Double J run 93 to 96. So take that, and then we'll call it for better or worse, the NWA and all the stuff that went on, and how I returned to WWF and did the promo and everything that went with that. But then light a match and the Attitude Era takes off.
Let's talk about the music. He's not there very long, he being Russo, and you're here on your first day, and you're gonna just talk me through the music. Do you have a chance to hear it ahead of time? Do you approve it? Is there any discussion about that? I know it's a little thing, but when you're fresh off of the other show, it's interesting to me how quickly all this has to come together.
So they played generic music, I believe, until the cowboy theme was. Is that what you're asking about? The cowboy?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, in general, do you go backstage that day in Philadelphia and they say, okay, Jeff, we got these public domain songs, we got it drilled down to these 5, you pick one, or just what's that look like?
It goes back to the how things were. Hey, we got some, because it happened quick. And when I say the whole deal, all things as far as, what was it, 3 weeks, not long. And that's just a Jeff and a few others and Bill Bush and a few others having that discussion. But once it trickles down into production and travel and all that, I'd say it's inside of 7-ish days. And so music on night one it was an afterthought. Maybe not on my part, but I knew, okay, there's only so much we can do. Jimmy Hart being in there, and I knew it was a priority to get music made. So I'd love to know how many episodes it took for us to get the new theme song cranked up. But no, it was, we're going to play this. And maybe somebody came to me and said, hey, here's 3 options. I don't remember. But it wasn't, it was all generic music. It was walk through that. Again, not a lot of creative. I had 0 creative input. I don't know how much time Vince and his team had to think it through. And again, he's walking into, because he lived, eat, breathe, sleep, Stone Cold Rock, Attitude Era, all that. And so in a less than a month, you can't understand and learn 80 pieces of talent. You just can't.
Right.
So me cracking Buff over the head and in a La Parka match. And I don't know if that's a Vince took a suggestion from somebody in the room or he wrote it, but it was a simple way to debut Jeff and introduce him to this audience. And when I say the Nitro audience, live and on television, and head down this road. I don't think there was any grand master plan at all, not just for me, but for anybody a month into Vince's tenure. I just don't think that's possible.
Get even more from the hottest new podcast going, My World with Jeff Jarrett, over at adfreeshows.com. Let me get granular here for a minute, folks. Not only can you get the entire My World episode library with 0 ads, new episodes come your way each week early, ad-free, and on video starting at just $9 a month. We've also got tons of exclusive My World bonus content waiting for you, plus unique interactive experiences with your old pal, Double J. You get to jump on and ask Jeff questions, and if you joined us in Chicago this year for Top Guy Weekend, you got to hang out the entire weekend. That's just 30 cents an episode, 100% the best value in all of wrestling. Strut on over to adfreeshows.com right now to sign up. So after you lay out Buff with the guitar shot, you grab your crotch and say, hey, Buff, you got your stroke right here. And of course, this is Monday night. So you had a Sunday pay-per-view. So maybe you weren't in church the day before, but Lord, I'm just saying, it feels like you're leaving one set of attitude, creative, maybe edgy content, and we're knee deep in the other one here. After the segment's done, what'd you think? Were you happy with how it went? Let's also mention, you're 1 day removed from the China hold up, blah, blah, blah. So in a 24-hour period, you've lost the Intercontinental title on pay-per-view in a gimmick match to a woman, held up Vince McMahon, been paid from the box office, made a debut on Nitro, interrupted a shoot promo, crushed a guitar over over Miss Elizabeth that we never see, but then over a WCW stalwart, a mainstay, grabbed your ding dong and said, here's your stroke. And then you're on an interview right after on the WCW program for the internet, an internet exclusive. That might be the hottest 24 hours anybody ever had, as far as an internet interview to follow up with. I mean, it would probably be, the only thing I could think of would be if Bret Hart debuted on Nitro the night after Survivor Series and then did WCW live in November of 97, which didn't exist back then. But if it did, that could have been bigger, but I can't think of much else bigger. I mean, kudos to them and you for pulling that together. Unfortunately, Thunder was a tape show, so it happened before you were in WCW, so you're not on that. But we do see you again at Halloween Havoc in Las Vegas. And our research team couldn't find that this ever happened anywhere else for anyone. As far as we can tell, you're the only guy to appear on 2 pay-per-views in a 7-day calendar period for 2 different companies. It never happened with an ECW, WCW, WWF guy, as best we can tell. And Halloween Havoc has really been one of the marquee events.
It's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.